Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the UK Table Football Show. I think this is like our 8th or 9th show that we've done. If you don't know me, I'm Will Hawkes. I don't know, I'm a table football addict. I guess you are too, because you're watching this show. The first thing is, if you're out there, let us know that you're watching. I can see we've got, I don't know, more than 10 people live at the moment. So you guys, more than 10 people, just put a little message in Facebook, in YouTube, so we know you're there. Say hi. And we are, if you've watched this show before, welcome again. If it's your first time, thanks for joining us. I'm really excited about tonight. We have a great guest. We've got Steve Lyall with us. If you don't know much about Steve Lyall, stay and watch, because we're gonna go Steve's journey in foosball from his origins all the way up to the present day, and it's going to be really fun. But yeah, first thing is, who's out there? I've got some comments coming in. I've got some people. Reese Roberts. How would Reese be the first person to say hi? Reese is, of course, in his first live foosball show of today, because Reese will be watching or listening to Foos Talk live at 2 o'clock in the morning, or is it 1 o'clock because the clocks have changed? Let me know, Reese. Zach Foreman watching from, Zach, I think you're in Marseille these days. So great to see you, Zach. Anyone else? Mariam. Hey, Mariam. Watching all the way from central London, I think, these days. But yeah, what are you up to, Mariam? Great to see you there. Who else? Rich Marsh, all the way from Bucharest. Hi, Rich. I've got some likes coming in as well. So Clargo, who's K-L-A-G-O? And Mark Torres, El Toro, the great Mark Torres. Hi, Mark. Katarzyna Majowska. Hi, Kat. Right, so we're going to get to going to Steve in a little bit. First, I do want to do a little bit of a thing of where we are in UK foosball at the moment, right? And I hope a lot of you got the British Foosball Association newsletter that we sent out yesterday. If you didn't, send me a message and I can add you to our news. will.hawks@britfoos.com if you want to, because there is like a longer link to sign up to the page, but I couldn't make it short. So if you want to sign up for the BFA newsletter, please send me a mail, will.hawks@britfoos.com, because there was loads of news. The one we did in January, I remember we put a picture of a foosball table covered in snow, because that's what foosball felt like in January, right? It was something a long, long way away in the future. But I put a picture of blossoms and like flowers on trees, because that's how I feel about foosball at the moment. I can kind of feel like, and I hope you guys do too, it might be within reach soon, which is really exciting. So, and we had a great BFA AGM annual general meeting, because we love governance, right? What the cool thing is, we've now got a lot of people together, working together, a kind of growing team who are going to take table football out around the UK when we get through all this stuff. But in the meantime, we've been doing these shows, which have been so much fun. You remember a couple of weeks ago, we had Dave Clearhill and Adam Horridge talking us through the clubs they started, which was so much fun. Who else is out there? Got any more comments coming in? Mike Russell with us. Hi, Mike. Jeremy Holloway. Jeremy, I think Neil back in. Jeremy's back in London now. Welcome to London, Jeremy. Reese Roberts telling us that he's going to be watching 2 o'clock in the morning. The other day I messaged Reese at 9 in the morning. He still hadn't gone to bed. Callum's out there. Hi, Callum. This is going to be El Clasico. There's 24 people watching live now. This is cool. Right. Well, I will stop talking, and I'm going to bring in our guest, Steve Lyall. Welcome to the UK Table Football Show, Steve.
How's it going?
How do you feel? Like, and everyone else in like the inside sports world, right? Jim Stevens and Mark Torres. Every week they're live, and then it's you this time.
Yeah, that's right. I saw Torres is. You mentioned Torres, right? I think he's stalking me at the moment, but yeah. And thanks for Callum as well for the El Clasico reference. Really appreciate that. Cheers, mate. But yeah, no, thanks for having me. Good to be on it.
Well, I mean, Steve is absolutely on the. I have a kind of list of people I want on the show, and Steve was on it. And actually, most of you guys watching this are kind of on it as well. But when we did the Champions thing, I put my hand up and I did something bad, right? I was so excited when we did 50 years of Champions from now all the way back to 1970. I just got really excited about John Kropatch, because we had John Kropatch, and He was in the Fred Truman stuff in 1970, and we had him in the show. I was excited about Jen Panchal because I'd had Reese going on about Jen Panchal, and I forgot to give the due respect to Steve and Rich, and so it's like we need to have a Steve Lyall show too to tell the story, right? And,
no, I just want to.
Go on.
Yeah, I just want to say to you as well, Will. Thank you for doing these shows. Especially during this pandemic and so on. It's a really nice thing, I think, for everybody to watch and enjoy and reminisce and just have a chat. So thanks for doing this over the last few months. It's been great to watch.
It's really fun, and the nice thing is actually I kind of feel like our whole foosball family is more and more connected by the of course we're on the table, we're all connected, but this is just reaffirming for all of us. I'm going to ask you the Tom Robinson question that he always asks people when they what was the first time you touched a foosball table, Steve? Where did it all start for you?
You know what? I have this really vague memory of when I was, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years old in primary school at an after school club, and some guy brought in a foosball table. I think I must have played for about 5 minutes or something. But I remember at the time, it was very clear, don't spin the rod, just use your wrist and that. And then my brother and I actually had a toy table. Our parents got us. I think we must have been around 10. I was around 10 or 11. So Chris is a couple of years younger than me. But we didn't play that much because it was just a fold up sort of 100 quid crappy table. It was spent most of the time in my wardrobe. So really, the first time I properly played was in upper sixth. So sixth form common room, Jeff Bryce table. When I was 17, 18. We had a separate common room for upper sixth and lower sixth students at school. And the table just dominated the room. It wasn't a very big common room, so it totally dominated the space. So you couldn't miss it. It wasn't tucked away somewhere. You had to walk around it to get about. I just started playing. It was 20p. Why not?
What kind of table? Was it just a few of you playing, or was there a big vibe in the place about?
Yeah, it was. So Jeff changed it a few times, but to begin with, I think it was just a blocky foot Garlando, glass top, obviously, because we're kids, can't be trusted. And I think it had the smaller handles, like the toilet flush handles, orange balls, and really slippery and everything. So it was, you could hit the ball hard. You could, you could make a bit of a mess and so on. It was great fun. I always played in goal. I seem to have pretty decent reactions and decent hand-eye coordination. I just liked it in being in goal just because it was just simpler, really, less of a mess. I think just up front, because no one's passing or doing anything properly, right? So it's just sort of chaos, and I just kind of like to sort of have the ball for a bit and see what I could do with it. And I think it was super popular. We must have had in our year, there was over 100 kids in our year, but at least a core of 20, 30 people who were playing all the time. 20Ps lined up along the glass, and the standard got pretty good, because we all got pretty hooked. It's an all boys school. There's a few girls in sixth form, but mostly all boys still at that stage. So it's a very competitive environment, we actually got quite a bit better as the year went on, to the point where the school started to put a padlock on the coin mech, so we could only play during breaks and lunchtime and so on. Couldn't play during free periods or anything like that, because of all the noise. So they that had to be enforced, because we were just hooked on it.
So just to introduce Jeff Bryce for those of you who don't know, Jeff he's going to be the first honorary life member we're going to have of the British Foosball Association, and we're going to have a celebration tournament, hopefully in Hereford, hopefully this year. Jeff put out, Steve, like 300 or 400 tables in schools, just like you in sixth form. For those people who aren't British, sixth form means like age 16 to 18. He had this tables all across, particularly you grew up in Gloucester, I think, so he's from kind of that part. Did Jeff come in
Hereford,
and train you guys? Was there like a program? Did you have tournaments, or was it just fun?
No, it was just for fun. I never actually saw Jeff when I was at school. He used to come, during quiet periods, I think generally to sort of maintain the table, take the cash out and fix the table up. I think he did play once against a few people, but I wasn't around when he did that, when that happened in that school year. But yeah, he and his family at one point, I think, had 200-300 tables in a mixture of school, like mostly schools, but also in pubs, and especially in the sort of west part of the country. We've got also in London as well. So
Rich Marsh, growing up in King Swinford, if I'm not wrong, which is kind of west of Birmingham. Another Bryce. Yeah. How many people went on to Team GB?
Huge number.
Bryce programs today.
Huge number, yeah. Like all of the Shoveltons, I think, John May as well. I think Simon Young and Chris Lyall, my brother. So yeah, I think maybe Mike Amsden as well. I'm not so sure.
They're all West Country. Mike Amsden, Dave Barham. I think Tom Burdett. Was he at school with you as well?
Tom Burdett, yeah, of course.
Tom Burdett. There's more.
Yeah.
There's more. Joe Hamilton, right? He's West of England.
Yeah, he's Bristol. I don't know I think maybe he was at a Jeff Bryce school as well. I'm not sure.
And Sarah Bryce.
And Sarah Bryce, yeah, of course. Yeah. So yeah, it's like most of the men's team are from the West Country at one point.
And is that 4 people from your school? That's you, Chris,
Simon and Tom, yeah.
And Tom Burdett.
Yeah, and we could have had more as well, because Tom Hampson, who went to my school as well and also went to Warwick, was a really good player, but he stopped playing really before we got good enough for Team GB, but he could have been for sure.
One of the things that's, as you know, Steve, we really want to, after the pandemic, get foosball back into schools, and the impact of you guys just getting into it when you were 16, 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
Get your 10,000 hours in early.
Yeah, it's massive, because it's really addictive, and you actively sort of we search for where we can play after that, right? Because it's great fun, and we were lucky enough, like myself, Tom Burdett, Tom Hampson, we were lucky enough to go to Warwick Uni that had already established a society, and they'd only done that the year before, I think part way through that year as well. So we were really lucky on timing, that we managed to catch that just as it was in its infancy as well. But without that, I think there were only 2-3 universities at the time that had some sort of established foosball society. I think if that link wasn't there, it's more than likely that I wouldn't be playing. But obviously I wouldn't have been playing at all if Jeff hadn't put the table in the school either. So
you played in the let's call it in Jim Stevenson's, like the greatest sixth form program the UK's ever had, and then you went to Warwick University, which probably had, with respect to Oxford, had an amazing scene we'll talk about at some point, but that Warwick, so many brilliant players have come out of Warwick University. Tell us a bit about what happened when you were there, what it was like.
Well, it's just complete carnage, obviously, but it's, what, actually, I think the standard at Warwick when I joined was lower than the standard at school, just because we were so sort of obsessed at school. I actually felt the standard overall was a bit lower, but that also made it quite easy for us to sort of integrate as well with the rest of the society, right? Because we felt that we were competitive from day one. Didn't get put off by losing, all the time. And Warwick was great because they we used to run freshers tournaments each year. So when I was a fresher, first year student, tournament just for us, which was really well attended. They made a big deal out of it. In the freshers fairs, they had a table next to the stall, so you could just go and play and get into it, get to know people just that way. So they made a big effort to try to get people involved, and it paid off big time. It's by just giving people like that low barrier to entry and just making it really accessible and enjoyable. Then we in my year, like the society, just exploded. We had another 20, 30 regular people just join along with me and the two Toms from that year. And I think the society before that was maybe, I might be wrong, but I think it was only 10 to 15 people at that point in total. And it was great because we're all at the same sort of ability level. I mean, there's a core sort of 10, 20 of us that could beat each other, especially in the first few months. So it was quite exciting to play. But there was one guy, a guy called Adam Baker. He was a really nice guy, and he went to Oxford before, so he was a postgrad student at Warwick, and he played at Oxford quite a bit. He's obviously a little bit older than us, and he was a lot better than us. But he was nice enough and friendly enough for us to learn from and to get better with and so on. So it was just like the perfect environment to sort of land in, to continue to want to play. Because I mean, to be honest, when I first joined and I was going around the Freshers Fair, just looking for different clubs and societies to join, sort of broaden my interests, I wasn't really that bothered about foosball. And it was only Tom Hampson that sort of dragged me along to the stall and was like, "Look, just sign up. It'll be fun. I'm doing it too. Just get involved." And I had a great time at the Freshers Fair. The Freshers Tournament. But even then, like, I only played once a week. Only at we used to call them GPSs, just like the weekly DYPs that they'd run. I used to play once a week, even at that point.
We've got a question from Zach, and this kind of applies to both your school days and your university days. And how are you guys playing? Yeah. What was the style? What was it like?
Well, at school, I just did a push shot. That was it. I just played in defense. All I did was a push shot. I could go short, I could go long-ish, and I probably at the time thought it was really fast, but it was probably terrible. And defending was sort of reaction-based. Warwick, there was a couple of people that when we joined had sort of started to learn how to snake, but it was not amazingly, right? So it was still kind of blockable. So everybody was sort of doing push shots on the 3-bar, pull shots on the 3-bar, or like, I still played at the back most of the time in my first year. So I was just learning a pull shot, trying a few other bits and pieces out. I played goalie most of the time in my first year. It was only really when people started to learn how to snake. So like in the second term of my first year, the society bought a Garlando table to go alongside the other ones in the bar. So at that point, I think we had 4 Garlandos. And because we had this table that the society owned, the members got free games. And so people would play during during the whole day, pretty much, miss lectures, and so on, just to play because, we're just hooked on it. And so not everybody, but some players just started to learn how to snake and how to snake properly. And I just had like my reaction to that as a goalie was like, screw that. I don't want to block it. I'm just going to go up front and shoot and pass. And I don't want to deal with blocking a snake. That was my first reaction. And that's why I started to play forward to begin with, to be honest.
That's how you got into being forward.
Yeah,
a couple of thoughts on some of the things you said. I think it's interesting what you mentioned about Adam Baker, because on all of our foosball journeys, there's that moment when someone is like, I'm not going to say the hero, but the person who inspires you to go, oh, hang on a minute. And that person will drag up. I think all of you, everyone watching, probably has got a guy called James Shenton when I was playing. It's just amazing. And I wish I could do all that stuff. And it drags you up. And
the great thing about Adam, sorry, just to say, just the great thing about having someone like Adam as well was that he was also connected to the foosball scene, because he'd been to a few tournaments. He had a ranking. I think he was ranked amateur or semi-pro. But yeah, so he knew people, and so he actually introduced us to the Nuneaton guys. So they were the place called the Chetwynd at that time. So we had like a friendly matches against them. It's the first time I ever met Bill and Paul and the other guys there. And the John Worthington was there as well at the time. So that was like our first exposure to like top 10 UK play. But we would never have had that if it wasn't for that link.
So Adam to drag you out and got you connected.
Yeah, exactly. Because especially as being students, like leaving campus is just really not something you do. You've got everything at your on campus that you need pretty much. So it was only because we were hooked and we wanted to get better and we were competitive. And Adam was like, okay, well, maybe we should now go and play these guys and see how we get on.
And for people watching, Nuneaton it's only like half an hour away from Warwick, but the guys who've been playing in Nuneaton, they've been playing together in different pubs since 1973. And they're not very interested in the UK national scene. They're just this amazingly close group of, and Steve, you've played there. They've got such a nice feel when, if you block a shot, the opponents will say, good block, mate. And it's a really nice introduction to sort of friendly foosball. What a great place to kind of expose yourself at the next level.
Yeah, I always remember my first match against the Nuneaton guys. I had to play against, I was in goal and I had to play against Bill Ormerod. Obviously, he's got a very unique style, lots of tic-tacs, and I'd never seen anybody do that before. And so I'm just like moving my men around, just trying to, do something. Occasionally I'd just block something by accident and he'd go, oh, good save. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, if you say so, I have no idea how I just did that, but thank you anyway. But yeah, they're really nice guys. I actually had the pleasure of going there October 2019 now to go see them and have a few beers and stuff. And that was great fun. I'd recommend it for anybody if they're in the area to stop on by once all this is over, of course.
Yeah, and you had, I mean, some of the other people who are playing in Warwick, as well as the guys who come out of your school. You got, I just had a quick scribble down. You got Andrew Nubbert, UK champion. Richard Marsh, of course, Richard is out there watching. You got Vincent Mock and William Leung. I think they might not have been at the same time as you. Those guys went from Hong Kong. They chose Warwick University because of the foosball program. They came all the way from Hong Kong. Hopefully, you guys have seen Vincent's videos. And they chose to hang out with you guys because what was there in Warwick, which is really cool.
I had a really bizarre moment. The first time I ever met Vincent and William, and there's another guy from Hong Kong, Frankie Chow.
Yeah.
The first time I ever met them was in 2011 at the John May's Fireball tournament, and they were friends with Simon at the time. And Simon came up to me and was like, "These guys want your autograph." I was like, "What were you talking about?" And so they were asking me for my autograph. I was like, okay, oh, you guys go to work, okay, you've actually heard of me. Like, this doesn't, it didn't really make any sense at all.
I remember that tournament. I was there. At the time they were like 18 years old and they looked like they were 13. I remember looking at William's arms and thinking, that guy's arms are so skinny. How can he hit the ball so hard? Because William's got a wicked pin shot.
Brilliant technique. Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. And I mean, Vincent is, insanely talented. I know he's a little bit after your time. I remember Alex Millington Marston, who's another guy at Warwick.
Yeah.
About that table and how Vincent would just turn up and kick everyone's backside. But again, it might not have been at the same time that you guys were there.
No, I left by that point. Yeah.
You had Nubbert was playing at the same time though.
Yeah, Nubbert was in the same year. Yeah, so we joined at the same time. Nubber, Tom Burdett, Dan Kingston. Dan was a year above. Tom Hampson. I think at one point, because we got to the point with Warwick where we had 4 tables. We were regularly getting 25, 30 people every week for our playing sessions, and we'd take a big posse with us to tournaments. Like I remember there was a few Liverpool tournaments that Boris was running that we'd have like 3 or 4 carloads worth of students just going up for the weekend, and it was great just going on these trips together. And I think at one point we had maybe 30 people in the top 100 UK rankings at one stage.
What was it? I mean, that was the next bit. So you come out of Warwick and you start going to these tournaments. How did you feel when you walk into a national tournament? It's in Liverpool or it's in wherever it was. Yeah. What was the standard like, and how did you guys do? And how was that journey on your road to pro?
Yeah, my first tournament was actually Reading 2004. I think it was around October or November. I don't know who was running it, but yeah. So this was only a few weeks after I joined uni, and we only went along for one day, just for doubles, and it was a Swiss system, and I think we played 6 games. In my first match, I was playing goalie. We played a guy who was just destroyed us. Like it just completely destroyed us. It's just, passed it 7 times, snaked it 7 times. That was it.
Done. Do you remember who it was?
I think it was Dave Carter. I think so. I think it was Dave Carter. I think at the time was like top 20 in the UK. I obviously didn't know him at the time, but it was just like, my God, this is just completely obliterated. I think me and my partner, we ended up winning 2 out of 6 or 7 matches, so we didn't qualify. I don't think anybody from Warwick actually qualified for the knockouts. But we just wandered around, looked around, and like it was the first time I'd ever seen people really like control the ball, like move it along the 3-row, like from pin positions and and so on, like with just so much skill and ease. So it was a real sort of eye opener, and it was really quite tough as well to just sort of take that in, because it just seemed like such an insurmountable gap in the skill level at that point. Because we sort of went in thinking, okay, we're pretty decent, and we played the Chetwynd guys, and we lost, but it was okay. But we thought we were pretty good, and we were not pretty good, but we thought we were okay, and we were getting better. But just to like see the gap was like, oh my God, like these people are just insane, and we're never going to get to that level necessarily unless we really practice. And it was quite a shock, to be honest.
And I like, some of you have heard me, what we're trying to build in the future, and it's not just here in the UK, it's around the world. You've got to build that ladder so people can start playing in that safe place you started in sixth form, right? With your friends, and you're never going to go anywhere. And eventually you kind of say, okay, we're good enough. I want to try. You went to your university, okay, I'll go along with that. And you're still in this kind of safe place with your friends, and then someone drags you and says, let's go and play regionally. Let's go and play Nuneaton. And you can kind of test yourself out as you kind of get a bit more confident, and then you go to national. And at some point you must have gone from being wow to suddenly maybe, what was the point when you thought, I can compete now? I've actually become a national level player, that this is working.
I think so my next tournament was the next year, and I was Warwick tournament. So it was our first like Warwick Open 2005. And I did okay there, but I knew I was getting a lot better, but I didn't really get the results to show it. But then the next tournament was one that Boris ran. It was the European Garlander Open in Crawley, and it was in the summer of 2005. And only a few of us went from Warwick to that because it was summertime. It was hard to get us all together and organised. But we went to that, and me and Tom Hampson, my partner, we ended up winning. And this tournament had loads of players from Europe. It had Jamal, it had Wolfgang Ressler, it had Vlad from Austria, and quite a few others. So standard was pretty high, and we had a great tournament. Like we ended up finishing. We won amateur doubles, and it was a huge field. We came fifth in semi-pro, which was basically all the UK minus Rob minus the foreigners was called this semi-pro event. So we had some good results in that. And I think the difference was before that tournament in the summer, I bought a table. So I bought a Garlando, an actual pennyfoot Garlando, so I could practice a bit of my game on it. And yeah, I just remember practicing, like I had 2 shots from the back basically at that event. I had a sort of a short tuck pull shot from the back, and I had like a pull push kick from the back as well, and that was it. And I just did those 2 things, and just kept it really simple. But I could do those 2 things well, and I was lucky enough to have TH, who was just a natural up front at that level, and would get us through. So that was the first time I felt, okay, yeah, we can actually do something. We can get some results. We were actually improving, and that was the first time I felt kind of motivated to really try properly.
So when I know you as a forward more than a back. So there must have been a moment then when you went to the next level and switched. Did that happen? Or do you have a bit more as a defender first?
Yeah, I still play quite a lot at tournaments as a goalie for a few years, because I played a lot with TH, who was definitely more of a forward because his 3-bar was really good. And then I played with Tom Burdett for quite a few years, and he's definitely much more of a forward. But we probably about halfway through that period, we'd swap quite a lot, and I stopped playing a lot more forward because I'd improved my 5-bar quite a bit and my 3-bar as well. So we actually became a really good team just because we had a lot of swap ability. If one person was off form, then the other would do it, and we could both do both positions really. So, but that European tournament was the first time I'd seen great players. So it was the first time I'd seen Rob Ather. It was the first time I'd seen people from Austria and so on. And actually, I was lucky enough to draw Rob in a DYP for that tournament. So that was a great experience. We only finished 4th because we lost to Jamal. He just destroyed me, and but it was great fun nonetheless. But
and I mean, hopefully everyone watching knows a lot about Rob, but Tom Burdett's someone who's dropped out of the UK scene probably about 10 years ago, just when I started to get involved. And Tom just kind of got a perfect game, right? That it's a brush pass, it's going up or down, it's a snake, he's going to take, and it's a really well constructed game from what I remember seeing. People, Andrew Nubbert's different. I'd love to get those guys back to tell us their own journey at some point, but you knew them very well. So talk a bit about Tom and Nubbert as well.
Yeah, I think Tom's main strength was the mental side of the game. Like, he's really good at reading, very patient, very composed, always put in full effort, but also had a really good technical game. But his consistency was just unbelievable. He never did anything flary or outstanding technically, but just pure consistency. It was, for you to beat him, you had to be as consistent and get a few blocks in, which was really difficult. And that's why he was so successful. And I say the same thing about Joe Hamilton as well back in those days, because it was often Tom and Joe. If Rob wasn't at a tournament, it was often Tom and Joe and maybe Shovey sort of vying it out for the first place in open singles in those days. And both Tom and Joe were just machines, just really consistent, just really nothing special, nothing that fancy, but just got the job done.
And Shovey's special and fancy, right?
Yeah, Shovey's kind of a bit different, like just a lot of technical skill, a lot of technical talent, but we'd often sort of explode mentally. And if you got under his skin, and if you got him agitated, you're halfway there. So it's, yeah, sometimes he'd just be completely focused and destroy everybody, and other times he'd finish, 7th or 9th, and that would be that. So
when did you progress from this level to like starting to get to the, I suppose, in your journey when you're suddenly getting to the top 3 in tournaments? Did that happen?
I think the first time was probably around 2007-ish, 2006, 2007. The first time I won a tournament, so I won Open Doubles at Holywell, which was a tournament we ran with in collaboration with the Nuneaton crew. So it was in Nuneaton, and we ran it together. And I think that was in 2007. I can't remember. We won doubles with Tom Burdett, and we played Mike Amston and Rob Davey in the final of that. I remember in the final, I think we were in the winners' side, so we were in King's Seat, and I just remember being so nervous, and it was really, really close. We got to like the last game of that first set. I think it was maybe 4-3 to them, and I had it at the back, and I just somehow like inexplicably scored an own goal. I had to lose that. Like, I think I just went for like a push kick. I think I missed the ball on the outswing and hit it on the backswing and went in my goal. But then after that, we restabilized and got the win. I think by that point I was probably already sort of top 10 or thereabout at that point. I'd been getting decent results in amateur events. I won quite a lot of semi-pro events by then. I was normally a banker, and then when I got promoted to pro, it was a bit of a slog because there were no pro events at that point. So it was okay. Now you've just got open. So it took a bit of time to get there. But to be honest, I didn't really focus on the results that much at that point. I was just know that I was getting better and that they'd come. But the Holywell one was sort of the breakout moment. It's the first tournament that Tom and I either of us had won. And then we had a bit of stick online on the Britfoos forum because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, well, a lot of the best UK players weren't there," and so on. So that just motivated us a bit further. So just after that, I think Boris ran a tournament in Liverpool, which was a Master Series on Garlando, and we had Martin Snobkowski turn up he played with Judge. The Sheltons were there, Filip Kubiatovic and Jakub Zienkiewicz, I think, were there. It was Roland Prisi, I think, was there. Some good players were there. But we were really motivated, Tom and I, to sort of prove everybody that we have actually made it. And we just played great. And we were swapping quite a bit at that point, and we had just the longest final I've ever been involved in against Judge and Snowpeck. It went to 10 games. The whole.
So weird Boris format, was it?
Oh no, so we were in the winner's side.
They
dipped us, then the loser's side went the whole way as well. It was it was an absolute marathon. But for some reason, I was always confident that we'd do it. I just don't know. We just had this belief that we'd get far. So I think that's the point.
You got there. You won it.
Yeah, and we won it. Yeah, and that was the point where I think I realised that okay, now I'm established as one of the better players in the country.
Well, you won an ITSF Master Series against that field. That's
we were just a great team at that point. I think we played quite a few tournaments together by then, and we'd worked out how to deal with different situations. So we were stronger than our individual parts. It just kind of all came together.
So I've got what I've got next. I was going to sort of just ask you a few questions about your game. So we're going to, I know, and I've got here the first one, some film for us to watch, right? Like Lynn and Catty. So we're kind of winding it should we stick that on now, right? And we can just chat a bit. And so what I've got,
Sure.
I've got my notes there. I've got 2 different screens up here. So this is you played against. Now we're winding the clock forward. This is you against Todd Lafredo.
Right. Okay.
Winning Master Series to playing against Todd in, is this Vegas or Tornado Worlds?
Vegas. Vegas 2018
Let's see
was when I played Todd. Yeah.
So that is that, right? So hopefully we'll just talk. Kill the sound. So yeah, let's talk a bit of, you've kind of, we're jumping forward a bit.
Yeah.
When you talk a bit about your game, right? Steve as a player, what kind of player are you?
Well, on Tornado, a bit different to other tables. I mean, I've got quite an attacking sort of mindset, quite attacking mentality. So my first thought is always, how am I going to score and pass, rather than how am I going to stop the other player. And I'm left-handed, so it's easier for me to sort of develop skills on the 5-bar. I find it quite natural, and I just have this habit as well. Whenever I go to a table, I'm just messing around on the 5-bar until I sort of remind myself, no, actually work on something else. I'd say probably one of my strengths is I'm quite good at reading people, reading their sort of mentality, reading their the defense, sort of just understanding their sort of mental state, like whether they're distracted, whether they're anxious, whether they're confident, and then using that to my advantage to sort of change the match if I need to in whatever way, right? So if if they're really confident, then okay, I'm just going to slow things down, play at my pace, take a lot of time, not just do the basic stuff like give them gaps that are their weaker gaps, just because I know they're going to be able to hit it at these points. I really have to sort of dig deep and make it more complicated for them at that point. So yeah, I think those are sort of my main strengths. I'm not great at transition. It's not really something I've developed. And my 5-bar D is still needs a bit of work. But to be honest, I've since 2018, since living with Rich and traveling a lot to different tournaments, and that's also because of living with Rich and then sort of just going with somebody that's really up for competing and improving. And I've been sort of forced to work on my weaknesses as well, because I keep getting exposed at a higher level, right? So yeah,
we sort of, I know we jumped ahead about 10 years to get to where we are, so we'll come back and do some of those bits. I mean, obviously, Steve, I've played you a lot, right? We're both in London, so
yeah.
Just my own sort of testimony. I think you guys, when you play Steve, you're really aware that you're playing Steve, and Steve is also, as you said, you are analysing the other player, and so there's some people you play, you're not really, you just play on the table, you look at them. When you play Steve, you're very conscious of Steve, and you will exploit that person's weakness. So, for example, in my case, I'm not always on the wall. So Steve is going to go wall, right? He's going to go once. He's going to go wall twice. He's going to go wall 3 times. And he's just going to keep going wall and wait for you to just twitch. And he's gone wall again. And it's like, this guy's gone wall 7, 8, 9 times on me. And at this point, my brain has now turned to cheese and I'm going to give you the rest of the game, right? You're really good at kind of, I'm not getting in people's heads and making them, give you all the energy and you have all the control because they're busy feeling frustrated.
And that's, I think it's a key part of the game. To be honest, I think because you have to, you're either dictating the play or you're being dictated, and you just don't know it at the top level, because everybody's got great technical skills. Everybody's got passes and shots that are fast, and there's no towels or very little towels. And really, the towels come on the mental side. So people they have tendencies depending on the match situation, or their weaknesses are exploited depending on the situation as well. So you really have to try to force them into doing stuff that they don't want to do in pressure points to create the mistakes, which then you just need to do your best to play your game and try to stay composed. And if you can unsettle the opposition, then they're going to hand it to you.
And because you're in your case, I mean, we're seeing it here the way you're playing with Todd. Now, because your 5-bar is so good, you it's very difficult to dictate anything. Certainly if you're a player at my level, to you, because you're just in control. And I mean, again, we're seeing it here, not just your 5, but your 3 as well. And you're left-handed, but you've got a fantastic pull shot, which you're doing with the wrong hand. That's I know you've got a great snake as well, but your pull's phenomenal. So I mean, just again for people listening and watching, how did you kind of get to the level with these great strengths of your game to where there's such weapons today?
Yeah, well, on the 5-bar, I just enjoy passing, right? And then I enjoy the creativity of it, because you can there's endless number of passes to do, and so I just like, and I don't like to just do the same like 2 passes all the time. So I like to have options, and just so having a combination of like a decent read on somebody on a defense, really studying and taking the time to actually figure out what they're thinking with their defense, is huge. And that just comes from having developed decent ball control, because if you've got decent ball control, then you don't really have to worry about focusing on the ball so much. You can just study the defense. So having a good read and then having a few options, some sort of like get out of jail free passes for when you really need it, like a high lane pass, a middleman pass, a stick wall when mostly I'm just doing brushes, that kind of thing is really, really crucial just to building a series. And with the pull shot, actually, I was quite lucky. So I got the Society, so Works tornado table. I just took care of it for like a summer, and it was the first time I'd really had a tornado. And I was struggling to really stake properly on it. So I thought, okay, well, let's try a pull shot. And I also remember I got some advice from Titch Deegan as well, which was really helpful. He's like a fantastic pull shooter. He's been one of the UK's best players for I don't know 30, 40 years or so, and a great tornado player. And Titch told me, just keep your forearm relaxed and just pull from your elbow, pull from your upper arm, and it will just mean you've got a really smooth takeoff, and you will execute the second phase of that shot, the actual wrist part itself, a lot smoother, because you're not tight at that point. You're not, your wrist is still pretty loose and is able just to fire at will at that point. So that advice was great, and I just practiced a lot. When I did the classic rookie thing of just only practicing long because it's fun. So I just developed a great long, and that, to be honest, gets you quite far against people that don't know you, because when people don't know you, you set up a pull shot, they think, well, this guy's long is probably slow, and I'm just gonna see what it is and race it. You score the first one, and they still don't really believe it. So you can get away with just only shooting that for the first few, and then they'll start to creep off of it, and you can shoot everything else. So yeah, I just lucky to have access to a tornado at the right time and some good advice. And I just found it came a bit more natural to me as well. I think with a snake, there's a lot going on. You're rocking the ball, walking the ball. It's a bit more to think about, and I think people are generally a bit better at blocking snakes as well, because they see it more.
See a lot,
especially in this country, and in Europe as well. So yeah, I think there's a few advantages with the pull shot.
You and I played in a London DYP. It was one of those ones where you have a different, probably a monster DYP, and I haven't played with you on a tornado. I played against you a lot, and what struck me was, you position yourself, you go quite side on. So as your defender, I had to kind of clear myself out over there.
Yeah.
And of course, I got watched it over your shoulder, and it's very long. That shot, it's very clear, it's very crisp. So yeah, it's a great pull shot. I mean, of course, you're playing Lafredo here. Let's talk a bit about what it was like when the guy who's got the best pull shot in history, and how did we've not been talking about what's happening in this game. So tell us a bit about your recollection of playing Todd Lafredo in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, this was a great tournament. Rich and I, went over and we practiced quite a lot beforehand because we were taking this quite seriously. And this, I was quite fortunate in the draw. So there were a lot of European players that were over for this tournament because of the Intercontinental Cup and the Masters singles that the ITSF was running. And my seeded player, because we're both ranked experts, so my seeded player was Olivier Kovos. So I met him in the second round, I think. And he's not a tornado player. He's a great Bonzini player, but he's not a tornado player. So that was quite comfortable. Whereas Rich ended up drawing Rob Mares in the second round. And, obviously, master player in the States, that's going to be tough. And he did well, but, Mares is just a great player. And then I just got a bit of confidence. So I ended up beating Rick Macias and Bill Hayden at this point. And I knew I had Todd, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. And I was up there. I arrived at the match with confidence. I think I ended up stealing the first game, 5-4 maybe. I can't really remember. And I was thinking like, oh my God, I've just beaten Todd Lafredo on Tornado in Vegas in the first game. I was like, still didn't really believe I was gonna win the match, if I'm honest with you. But I'd actually played him once before, but not in singles, in doubles, in Turin with the World Championships with Chris, and we'd lost that quite comfortably. But it was great to play him. He's really sneaky. He's obviously been playing for 40, 50 years or something. So he's got loads of tricks up his sleeve. Like just here, right? He's doing a 2-5 series. I've never seen him do the 2-5 series.
And he was doing some 2-3 stuff earlier. I was watching, which is sneaky.
Like he's just got so many options that he'll just work them, or he'll just try everything until he finds something that works against that particular person, and then he'll just do that until it doesn't work, and he's got something else that he can rotate to. So even though after the first game I thought, okay, I'm scoring well, I'm blocking all right, and the transitions are sort of going in my favor, all of a sudden he's just totally mixed it up, and I've got to try and block a 2-5 series, which is not one of my strengths. And I've never seen him do it before. And when you have to sort of adjust on the spot, against someone at that level, it's just really tricky to manage. But like I'm full of confidence when I'm in possession here. Like I know what I'm doing there, and I'm confident in scoring and passing. But yeah, he manages to get back into this, I think, just because he's just got so many tricks.
That's nice.
And his pull shot's not bad either, is it? Let's be honest.
My guys watching, right? Any questions for Steve? Any thoughts for Steve? What do you want to talk about with Steve? We've got a few things just to people coming on. Louise Tanju.
Hey, Louise.
One of Steve's strengths on that pull shot is being able to sit on the ball for the full time limit. You're not a person who goes past 15 seconds. Actually, some people it's like a 25 seconds thing. No, you do.
Louise and I we had a great run in Dublin tournament a couple of years ago, or maybe 3 years ago, against Rob and Norm. We took the first set off them, but they came back in the end. But that was a lot of fun. That tournament, definitely go again once everything.
What Andre thinks about your Rich
Well, I
Mark,
think
what your thoughts
anything
are as
past
well?
about 3 seconds for Andre is taking a
Andre
long
can't
time.
count. That's what Marshy thinks.
Yeah, on and off the table, I'm sure.
Yeah, so just a few shout outs for people I know we haven't said it. Blonky Baines is out there. Who else? Christina Purple, I saw. There she is. There's Christina. Hi, Christina.
Oh, Christina. Hey, Christina.
Denzel's got an interesting question, actually. Do all great players come from playing goal initially? I think, yeah, give a bit of thought on that, as going from goal to forward and how that worked for you.
I don't know, to be honest. I don't think it necessarily matters, but I think if you you need to play in both, so then you'll get better whichever one you want to specialize in, right? It's hard to be a good goalie if you don't play a bit of forward, so you know what the forward's sort of thinking and assessing, so it helps your defense and vice versa, right? If you want to be a good singles player, you need to know how to defend. So you should play some goalie as well. But I don't know if there's if people are better because they start out as a goalie, to be honest. But you can't get away with just being.
That's what Rich thinks.
Both.
You need to know how to defend to learn how to score better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, I kind of feel it's the other way around. Sometimes you need to learn how to shoot a shot in order to defend it. I couldn't block.
It plays both ways. You need to understand all aspects of the game, right, to be able to really sort of master it. And if you're playing doubles anyway, like you're gonna have times where you need to swap to try to block or just change something up to change the way the match is going if it's not going well. So you can't only play goalie or only play forward. You have to be useful in both positions if you're going to be really successful.
What I'm going to do, Steve, now because we've got some other bits. I know we're not going to get to the end of this one because we've got some other things which would be quite fun to watch. So tell us what happened at the end of this game with Todd.
Oh, I ended up losing this in 4, sadly, but it was good fun.
But still, congratulations to getting to playing Todd Lafredo in Vegas and getting, at this level, that's pretty cool. So what I'm going to put up here next, I'll just take this one down. I've got some questions. Here's got a question for you. Zach Foreman's got a question for you, and I'll put up the Gazer Kiss one in a minute. What's your view on the overall level in the UK and how it's evolving?
It's a good question. Hard to say now, obviously, because it's been a year since we played. But before, I'd say there's a small group of us. So obviously, you got Rob, who's amazing, and so there's a small group of us who were. So I think Rich, Callum, and myself, who were sort of, traveling a lot, competing a lot, and getting better as a result. And I think we'd sort of maybe broken away from the rest. And then there's sort of a decent group of 10 to 15 players, sort of in the mix below that. I'd say the standard of the top level has got better, but I just think that there's less depth than there was maybe sort of 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I think there's really quite a few players that would be competitive have dropped out, and we haven't had many new players joining to replace them. So it's just a volume issue, really, for that depth side. So,
Steve, I'm going to drop in. This is talking about, that you haven't got away from the next level. This is you performing in a tournament in Hungary, just before, this is like end of 2020, right? So it's just the start of last year before all this started.
Yeah, February, I think.
Playing Gazer Kiss. So it's kind of talk a bit about what it's like performing at the highest level of Europe, because you just showed high level against the US, highest level at Europe. And maybe talk about this tournament and some of the other. You played Garlando, you played Bonzini, you played P4P, and here you are playing Leonhardt. So how's your experience been on the European tour?
It's great fun. It's there's so many great players in Europe that are, you classify them as UK pro master level. There's so many, and at any tournament that you go to in Europe, you're going to have a lot of tough matches to get far. Regardless of the table. Gazer's, top 2, top 3 player in Hungary, and I think this is for. I think this is a quarterfinal on the winner's side. of this tournament. There's 300 people at this tournament, so it's quite far in. But the standard is just ridiculous. Like especially in Germany, there's just so many players in Germany, and as a result, there's a lot of very good players, and there are some that only play P4P events, and they have a very different style. And it's a really good experience to go there and to learn different techniques and to learn how to defend different types of shots. I remember the first few times Rich and I would go to some events in Germany. We'd be competitive, we'd do okay, but we just end up losing a lot just from bank shots, right, from goal. We had no idea how to defend them for quite a while, for instance. And I think it's quite exciting playing on the European tour, as it were, because it's a different winner every tournament. There's no clear best player, apart from obviously if Fred was competing, or Rob, or Kevin's at a tournament. Outside of those, there's a lot of
have a Fred
potential
question,
winners.
Actually. Here's Albert wants to know your thoughts on. Think Fred will come back?
I don't know. It's a great question. I think, if I remember right, I think Fred's retired. Like he stated that, like for the practice and the effort required to stay at that level, it really wasn't worth the reward, the money that was paying out at ITSF events by that point, because I think maybe they changed the prize money structure. And world championship events have no prize money, and so on. So he's obviously had, he's got hundreds of trophies, so he's won enough that he probably doesn't need more. But hopefully, if there's some money in the game and there's proper more competition, and I think you'd expect to see some of the top players come out of retirement.
I think he's got nothing more to prove, right? If Fred's only talking about money, everything else that is of value, he's already become the greatest player in history ever. He's already won every tournament you could possibly win. He's won multiple times. It's like,
he's only really got something to lose at this point. Because if he doesn't win, it's it's either like, it's going to be a bad feeling, and it's kind of like people will start to maybe talk, oh, he's maybe not quite the player he was, and so on. So unless there's a big incentive to come back, like a decent prize fund, then it's just kind of, why would he?
Here's a fun question from Mike Russell. What's your favorite table and your least favorite, and why?
Tornado is one of my favorite. I do like Leonhardt as well. I've got both at home now, which I've been playing on lately. I think Tornado, though, just because you can do anything on that table. There's so much variety. Least favorite, normally I'd say Bonzini, but to be honest, like the way Garlando is at the moment with the balls, like I don't find it enjoyable at all. It's like I find it just a chore to get through. Like I can compete on it, but I don't enjoy it. Whereas with Bonzini, I feel like I have more of a sense of like control on it. My game is more suited when I have a bit of control of the ball.
I've got some Steve on Bonzini a bit later on for us to have a look at as well.
Okay.
I know. I mean, I know what Leonhardt is an absolutely quality table that everyone can find a way to get a game that works on.
Yeah.
Tornadoes is so precision. You can do so many things with a Tornado. You can take it to such a high level. And Bonzini is massively fun. I mean, I remember when I started playing, I lost. I might have said this before, but my first time on bar kick, my brother and I lost 10-1 to Emily Knox and Julia Hallis Hartwig, and my brother scored the only goal.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's the nicest team you could ever lose to.
Yeah, they were absolutely wrecked. It was brilliant. But Bonzini, once you figure out what you can do on Bonzini's really fun. It's so creative as well. I mean, every Bonzini's different.
Yeah,
I agree. I have a Garlando at the moment. I'm kind of hating my Garlando. I can't quite figure out what to do with it.
I think once you figure out the 3-bar on Bonzini, all of a sudden you sort of start enjoying it. And for me, that's been a pull shot on Bonzini. But yeah, it depends on the Bonzini. Some of them, the ball sets up, some of the time it doesn't. And that sort of dictates how well I do kind of most of the time on Bonzini. But at least like it's just that there's a bit more control involved. With Garlando, they've just been messing around with the ball so much that and the latest one is we've had for the last sort of 2-3 years is quite hard to control.
And this is you talking about Steve's 5-bar is still, one of the best 5-bars in the UK. I'm only saying one of the best because, of course, we have Rob. And if you find it difficult, then what's it like for the rest of us?
Well, I mean, I just don't. You have to be such a tentative. I have such a tentative approach because I'm just terrified of like losing the ball. I end up spending all my time focusing on the ball rather than focusing on the actual play itself. And I just feel like I have to play like a reduced version of my game to be able to do something half decent. And it's
we mentioned Rob actually. One of the things that is I know that we all admire Rob, and I can't imagine. Tell me a bit about, I suppose, your heroes in foosball. Who are the people who've kind of inspired you? It's not just about Rob, but who are the people who've kind of you looked and gone, oh, that drives me to take my game to the next level, and you steal things from them and use them in your own game?
Yeah, I mean, I wish you hadn't said kind of apart from Rob, because I think
Rob as well. Rob
is probably the person I've got the most inspiration from, obviously because he's the best player that UK's ever produced, but also like I like the way he plays as well. Like his style is it's smooth, it's good to watch, it's cheeky, and so on. So I've tried to bring bits of that into my own game in my own sort of way. Obviously don't have the talent level that Rob has, but I've tried to at least play that kind of way. I'd say other than Rob, I always like the way Shovey plays as well, but I could just never replicate it because I think he's very right-handed, I'm very left-handed, and it was just not really gonna work for me.
Shovey's Alex Shovelton for
yeah.
There's two of them. There's a John Shovelton who's John Shovo, and Alex Shovelton is Shovey.
Yeah, identical twins, and they were dominant players in the noughties and early 2010s. I suppose the other player's game that I really like from the UK is John May, and for two different reasons. Like his 2-bar is just insane. Even when he hasn't really practiced, he can just hit crazy shots that I wish I could hit. But he's got this other side to him, which is just about sort of kind of getting underneath people's skin, making them play a bit worse than they normally play, sort of getting that sort of mental edge, and he really fights for everything as well. So like I've always respected his game for that. So I think it's an important element of the play. That's part of the reason why we play together at tournaments, because I like to I'd rather have that on my team than be against it.
What was the shirts you were both wearing that you turned up at the tournament? You had like some slogan on the front that was perfect for Steve and John as a team. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, it was something like I can hear you, but I don't care. Something like something quite abrasive, and but just like just exactly for that reason, just to when someone's playing us in a game, just to if they happen to glance up, just to have a reminder. It's all good natured, but it's just try to make that little bit difference.
I'm gonna switch our film. Tell us a bit what happened with your game with Gazer while I put on something else.
I ended up beating Gazer, and then I got to the winners semi-final, and I lost that, and I still can't believe I lost that match. But yeah, I went to 5 and I lost it. Then I beat Dovidas to get to 4th, Dovidas Bukauskas to get to 4th, and then Gazer got his revenge on me, and then he ended up winning the tournament. in that one. But I was pretty happy with fourth actually in that one.
That's like you said, 200, 300 people, and you're finishing fourth in that.
Yeah, there's so many people in that. There's like Hungary's got a huge player base. Yeah, that was a good tournament.
So
I tried to.
Go on, sorry. Come on.
I was just going to say, like, I've tried to, because my natural inclination is to try to have as much fun as possible at tournaments, and to, when I'm not organizing, to try to just, really enjoy the social elements of it. But I've realized that I need to sort of curb some of that to also do well. So now, or before pandemic anyway, I've been trying to decide beforehand, okay, this tournament I'm going to do seriously, this tournament I'm just going to have fun with. And Hungary was one of those where I was just like, okay, I'm just going to try and take this seriously. And
you're wearing your glasses, which I'd not seen you doing before in that tournament.
Yeah, I started doing that the year before. Yeah. I was playing at home. I never normally never wore my glasses before while playing. I remember I was living with Rich at the time, and I just happened to be wearing them when I went up to the table and started playing. And I was like, oh my God, I can actually see so much better now. This is a lot easier. Where the hell wasn't I doing this before?
So Reese asked for some Bonzini. So this is a little bit of a. It's like being a DJ, right? It's like desert island discs. So if this is going to behave, this is a bar kick tournament I just found again on YouTube, October 2017. We're kind of about. I don't know. Let's just like pick 10 minutes of it and go. So we've got, of course, it's the final. It's Lyall and Zeman against Vito Migliore and David Angelique.
Okay, classic final.
It's a classic final, and you talk about Bonzini earlier. Let's talk a bit about like bar kick tournaments and our scene, because local scene is really important. And in a way, we've had this scene in the UK in London, and you've played a lot. You've got a bucket full of medals. So talk a bit about how's that been for you.
I loved bar kick tournaments, to be honest. Well, most of the time, I love bar kick tournaments. I think later on, I started to have a sort of a love-hate relationship with them. But yeah, when I moved to London.
When you didn't win, you kind of were cross. So you had to win, otherwise you went home in a sulk.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I've been in London for 13 years almost now, or 12 years almost. And as soon as I knew Dave from before, because I'd seen him at tournaments, we'd become friends before. But yeah, when I moved, we just started playing together in doubles, and I think Dave's like the perfect doubles partner, really, because he's so calm at the back, and he's got some great advice. He's great at communicating. Like, he thinks logically all the time, so he's going to make smart decisions. So he just sort of, he's just a consistent, rock at the back, basically. And so, I kind of knew how to play on Bonzini when I moved to London, but not really. But just having someone there that, because Dave's obviously lived in London for a long time, he's played at bar kick for a long time. Like, he's really, really adept to Bonzini. A great player. So just having him there at the back just meant I had enough time to sort of develop some sort of game on it. As you say, every table is different. So some tables, the ball will set up in a pull shot for me, and I can then actually shoot a pull shot in any of the gaps I want. If it doesn't set up properly, then I can only do a straight or a middle, and just hope that they don't realize. And sometimes I just, it's just going to misexecute. But the bar kick tournaments are always great. Like JP, used to run a great event. Sometimes they'd go over a bit, and the bar wouldn't be massively happy. But it was all kind of part of what you get used to experiencing as a customer. And it was, it's such a shame what's happened with the place at the moment with the new management. But hopefully we can still get something going when the pandemic is over, or the restrictions ease a bit.
Just to share a bit about how these tournaments are, if you haven't seen a bar kick before, 4 tables, 20 teams. So each table's got a group of 5 teams. So you've got you've got to play. Everyone plays everyone best of 7. You have to seeded teams. Then you have a knockout, quarterfinal, semi-final, final. And every team is named after a country. So you could be Slovenia or Algeria. And JP was running these tournaments for at least 15 years. He's gonna do it all again on Garlando's and Foosball Club near Arsenal Stadium after all this stuff. But you're right, Bonzini for now. Bar Kick's got 2 Bonzinis left in it when they open. We had a chat with them the other day. The door's a little bit open for us to do something with them, but it's not going to be the way it was, which is a shame.
Yeah, it's such a great venue with upstairs, downstairs, tables everywhere. There's like 12, 13 tables at one point, and
who are your?
It's a great atmosphere.
Tell it. You're playing here, Vito and David, who would have been quite regular rivals in the final. So tell us a bit about who've been your great, like not just here, but throughout. Who've been your rivals? The people you've often come across on the other side of the table, and you're like, oh, it's you again, right? We're going to have a battle.
Yeah, I mean, there's been quite a few. At Warwick, Tom Burdett, Dan Kingston, great players. Games would always be close. Tom used to have the edge on me for sure. And then Nubbert as well. Always have close matches. And playing Nubbert because his style of play was so different to everybody
tell
else.
People who don't know who Nubbert is. What Andrew Nubbert? What's his way of playing?
Yeah, it's a very different.
It's unique.
Be a lot of hacking on the 5 bar, but lots of variety, lots of different hacks. On the 3 bar, it'd be tic tacs, push kicks, dinks, and his doubles game wasn't massively strong. His real strength was transition in singles, so he'd be very quick from clearing the ball on the 2 bar to doing an instant shot on the 3 bar, to just doing a very quick hack on the 5 bar. So for me, like as a player who, transitions are not my strength, right? And I'm much more of a controlled, methodical player. That was always a very tough matchup for me. Like I had to, do really high percentages and not make any mistakes. Otherwise, I just get killed in transition moments. So that was definitely a bit of a rivalry. Now I say like in the sort of early 2010s, like Mike and I were sort of jostling it out for
Mike
Amston, yeah. And I was sort of jostling out for UK number 2 for quite a while, up until maybe 2015, 2016 perhaps. And then more lately, obviously, Rich and Callum have been up and about there. I think Rich and I have swapped 2nd and 3rd spots for maybe 6 or 7 times at various points throughout the last sort of 3-4 years.
And he's your flatmate, and he's your doubles partner as well. So those when you're playing him in singles in a tournament, it's like what I know, what I know, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's and those games always take longer, right? Because when 2 people know each other's games quite a lot, it can turn into a bit of a grind. I think we managed it pretty well, overall. Games at home would be fairly competitive, but without crossing the line. And it was great to have the opportunity to travel with Rich, someone that was still is very keen on improving and competing abroad, because that, as I said before, it sort of motivated me to sort of get up and try and take my game to another level, because I definitely plateaued for about 5 years in the sort of the early part of the last decade, just because I'd only go to maybe 1 or 2 events abroad a year, which for the level I was at wasn't enough to get to that next level, because UK events just weren't going to push me at that point. So have to go abroad to improve. And like one, of the two, one of those would be a World Cup, right? So yeah, not really the right ground for learning.
One of the things that we did that show I mentioned at the start, the Champions show. I think I have you down as being a champion six times champion. I know some of those are out of Boris's rankings in years we didn't have UKCs, but you have won UK championships on a number of occasions. So tell us a bit about when you did that.
I think I've only won the UKC actually once, and that was with Rob in 2016 in doubles. I think that's the only time I've actually won the tournament. Myself, I finished second a few times in singles and second a few times in doubles to Rob. So I've qualified.
Mixed doubles. Did you and Kata won a mixed doubles one, right? I think. This is all Boris's magic. The way, so in that case, you've been player of the year and you had most points in a number of seasons.
Louise and I won mixed. I think we won mixed last time out. Louise and I won that.
It's probably in there somewhere.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, UKC is always quite tough. I'm often running the event as well, which doesn't help with actually focusing on playing. But it's always pretty close, and there's a lot of great players to compete against. It's kind of just how you do on a day, right?
You mentioned running things because you organise tournaments. You've been the BFA chair. You've been around and made things happen. What's perhaps what's the biggest tournament you've ever run, Steve? Tell us a bit about because I know yesterday you did a masterclass on running tournaments. So tell us a bit about running tournaments.
I mean, the biggest one I've run is the European Tornado Open, which you were heavily involved in as well, right? And
that's my music popped out there. Let me get at that for a moment. It's fine. Keep talking, Steve, while I go and find something else to watch.
Sure. I mean, the ETO was just insane. 250 players, broke the record by about 100 players for a UK event, at least in the last 20 years. It was just the perfect sort of timing for that sort of event, just before the World Cup. The only tornado tournament in Europe for a long time, so there's a lot of demand. It was, we advertised about in advance. We had everything set up in advance, so we could attract a lot of players. But it was just chaos. Like I couldn't play. Really struggled to play. I had a headache for about a week afterwards. It was just ridiculous.
Just about talk about it now, can't we? It was.
Yeah, it was such a huge effort from everybody. I mean, everybody was just great, and there was not even a chance of any sort of disagreements or anything amongst the organisers, just because we all knew that we just had to be on it the whole time for us to get through that. 250 players of 18 tables and about 20 events that were all clashing with each other over 4 days was just a marathon. We had to cut a couple of events. We had to cut the formats in a few events. We had to start a bit earlier. We had to beg the bar to go on later. I mean, you were like buzzing around the venue on your feet for, I don't know, 20 hours or something with an iPad, checking to see if people are playing matches. It was an amazing team effort. Like Rich and I behind the desk, with John May as well, and Paul Martin and Reese, Mike Cohen and Michael Russell, and Yaka doing the shop. Yeah, it was
Mariam buying food for everybody all the time. Thank you, Mariam.
Yeah. She'd just come up to the desk and say, "Do you want some food?" I was like, I looked at the time. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I haven't eaten in like 8 hours. Okay, food's a thing. Okay, that'd be great." So that was awesome, and that was I think it was great just for players from Europe to come over and just be able to see London and meet some of the UK players and so on. We definitely need a bigger venue next time.
I'm just glad
we definitely need a bigger venue for sure. But we could yeah, it'd be great to have an event like that again for sure.
I realize we haven't, because this is slightly building up to what you're doing now, right? But it's kind of fun, although, like Steve's done everything, guys. He's done schools, foosball, universities, foosball. He's been a UK champion. He's kicked ass local tournaments for years. I realize one thing we haven't talked about is Team GB, right? Which you were captain of. So talk a bit about your experiences at doing Team GB. I couldn't find a Team GB quarterfinal against France, which you played in with Joe Hamilton. I was looking for that this afternoon. But tell us a bit about your Team GB experiences as well, and then we'll get to Inside Foos and we can talk about that as well.
It's definitely a highlight. Like playing for countries, just an amazing feeling, and playing on a team with your friends and with people that you normally play against as well is just also a great thing as well. And the atmosphere at World Cup is unlike anything else. It's
that's what the Team GB current captain says.
Yeah, hey Callum, and the atmosphere is just incredible. The spirit amongst the team and the GB team has always been great. We've always got on really well. And my first experience of that was in, I think, 2011. January 2011. And we actually had really low expectations because we had quite a weaker team than normally. So Tom Burdett wasn't involved. No Shoveltons. Judge pulled out at the last minute because I think he damaged his wrist playing football, and so we had quite a weaker, inexperienced team. Our first match was against the Americans, right? And so it's my first experience. I played the first game as well. Me and John May up against Rob Mares and I think Dan Barber at the time. And I just remember I had so much adrenaline going through my body at that point that we somehow, because it was back in the days when the group stages were, you play up to five on your table and up to five on their table. But we both picked Tornado, of course. And John and I somehow beat Rob Mares in the first leg, and then the euphoria took over and we ended up relaxing too much and lost the second one. But we, it's just that for me was just like an immediate confidence boost, and I think I just sort of rode that wave in that event, and I played some of for that time, like some of my best play, and the team did pretty good. Like we scraped through the group stage. I think Mike Amston. So we had a draw against Spain maybe, and then I think we had to draw or beat Japan to go through, and it all came down to Mike's last game, and he held his nerve and got us through, and we got through on goal difference through to the knockouts, and I think then we had to play Belgium, and this was a Belgian side that had Fred. At that point, they played Roberto Sport, and we played a little bit of Roberto Sport because we had a few Roberto Sport tables in the country at that point, so some tournaments that on Roberto Sport then. So I know I could play it. I think my best moment for Team GB is still that first tournament where Simon Young and I, who's Simon's like one of my best friends. We managed to beat Gilles Bloch and Corin Leperc and knock Belgium out. And I just remember like everybody just going crazy at that point. It was so unexpected. But yeah, playing for GB in the World Cup's always been a great experience. It's you get to meet so many cool people from different countries. Playing together as a team is a lot more enjoyable. It's also a lot more nerve-wracking as well because you've got this expectation. You don't want to let everybody down, but at the same time, there's a lot more glory and everybody's motivated, and there's a lot of strategic elements to it with the multi-table aspects. And some players in your team are very good on some tables and different positions on other tables. So it's a really great experience, and I'd encourage everybody, if they're aspiring players, to try and aim for that, because it's definitely a highlight of playing foosball.
And I think what's interesting is as you said, it's you're playing as a team. You're playing it's not singles or doubles. It's as a group of people, and you're fighting together. And actually, if you sort of one of the things we want to build to Zach's question about what's the future of UK foosball is how do we build that ladder? So actually, Steve in the sixth form can go and play matches against other schools, and Steve at Warwick can go and play against other universities, right? So that we've kind of got that me and my friends fighting together. Ladder works its way up all the way. It's not like the first time I can ever play team foosball is when I play for Team GB. How do we build that for everyone that we can all really enjoy that battling with me and my friends thing? And Steve, go on. You say no.
Well, I just think it's mostly just about making those connections, right? So creating awareness that that competitive foosball is a thing, right? Firstly, because everybody's played or has seen a foosball table at some stage, but just recreationally and only thinks of it as a sort of recreational game. So just making the awareness that there is a competitive side to it, this actually exists, and then sort of outreaching to local scenes, supporting local scenes, and there's still loads of tables in schools and so on. So it's about how do you make those connections from those players, and if there are no university scenes going at the moment that I'm aware of, and so a lot of players are going to fall out. So maybe it's about establishing that link there.
Well, actually, next week I'm going on a conference call with the British Universities and Colleges Sport Organisation to see if we can apply to be an official recognised sport, the 54th official recognised sport of they've got 53. They've probably got Quidditch. So we're going to try and do something. And I know the BFA website's got a whole how to run a university table football club written by Steve Lyall. So
yeah, I was written a long time ago.
It's still there.
It's still there.
What more could you achieve in foosball, right? You've worked your way up. You've a bit like Fred, right? Like, why did Fred carry on playing? What's there to come? So, I guess you kind of like, what else could you do apart from? Is there anything else going on in foosball that you could tell us about apart from all this stuff?
Well, from a playing perspective, like I definitely want to try and win more stuff, abroad. I think that's the next challenge, and I'd love to be able to. For the men's team to get a podium place, to get a medal at the World Cup. I think we have the squad for it. I think it's just a bit of luck and a bit of momentum and form at the right time. I think we can still do that. So I think that, from a personal perspective, is my goals, and I still want to compete at a high level and try and get better, and and that sort of thing. But I mean, my latest thing is Inside Foos, right? So Inside Foos is, as I'm sure most people know, Jim Stevens. Jim's been doing Inside Foos for 28 years, covering the American pro game and some of the European tournaments as well. For me, it's just about trying to raise awareness of the game through Inside Foos and how we can do that. So I think one of the ways in which we can make the game popular is by making it more entertaining to watch, and getting more. If we can get more spectators and we get more sponsors, or we have a chance of getting sponsors. If we get sponsors and we get some proper money into the game, we can start to fund events, so they've got better promotion, better marketing. They're very professionally run, and you can put money into the prize funds as well to get people to to raise their level, and eventually, hopefully, turn do that as a living, right? I think that's where we want to get the game to, is so you can actually make a career out of playing foosball. It's obviously a long way away, but I think part of it. I think there's two parts to it. There's the grassroots side. There's the promotion. There's the local player scene supporting what they're doing. Them doing an amazing job to get players in, and to make it fun, and to sort of start that conveyor belt that I went through. I was fortunate enough to go through, but just making more and more of those conveyor belts so that more people have a chance to progress. And just with keeping in mind that most people just won't want to do that, right? Most people just want to play for fun and and that's absolutely how it should be. But if people, you also have to provide people with the opportunity to take it more competitively. But they need to know about it. They need to understand it's a thing, and they need to have something nearby them to do it, to encourage them to do it the first time, right? So there's that side of growing the game. I think the other side is at the top level, presenting it in a way which is attractive to someone that doesn't play. That's entertaining to watch. That's it's just fun, right? So like I always use darts as a comparison. I don't play darts, but the way darts is presented, it's a lot of the attention's on the crowd. The crowd's going crazy. Long beard tables and costumes and so on, and there's a great atmosphere. They portray the players with their stories, and they bring out the emotional side. They tell the story. What they're doing is really just telling a story to the viewer, and that's really why we watch. We watch because not really for the game so much, but we watch for the dramatic moments. Like, this person's just missed their double out, so now they've got to go, and this is what it would mean to that person because of the journey they've been through as a player, and what a moment it is. It means so much because of this storytelling. And we have all these stories in Foosball. They exist. Everybody's got their own journey, and some of those are incredible. And
we've even got the best storyteller in Foosball as well. We've got a guy who's been telling the stories for 28 years, right?
Right. In Jim, yeah, he's a fantastic commentator and presenter, and has an encyclopedic knowledge of the game, especially the American game. And so we have some of the key ingredients already to do that, and it's just sort of presenting it in a way which, if you've never seen Foosball before, if you've never really heard about it, and you just happened to to pass by, for them to sort of just take a moment and go like, oh wow, this is awesome, and I just maybe watch it for a few minutes, and maybe that's all they do. But then maybe another person watches it for a few minutes, and they go tell their friends, they share it, and then word starts to spread, and that's how we can bring more awareness to to the game. So that's the big focus for Inside Foos now. So
I've got it up here, right? I know this is only a little. That's my Inside Foos subscription.
Yeah.
I think your subscriber number one, if Callum's still out there, were telling me he was like bought it at 12:01 a.m. or something.
Yeah, he's actually not the first.
Oh,
yeah, we had he's the first after launch day, but we had a guy that managed to find us when we were just testing it, who subscribed before we'd actually launched. But he's the first subscriber since launch. Yeah, that's where I'm coming through. So thanks for that, Callum.
Look at this. I just keep scrolling up. This is. I mean, I know this is only part of what you guys do, but this is the entire back catalogue of everything that Jim's ever done.
It's not the entire thing. There's only about 500 matches up there at the moment. I say only, but there's 500 matches up there right now.
I've been enjoying them,
and we're adding more each week. And obviously, so you can search by player, you can search by events, and you can obviously watch whenever you want. And we're adding more stuff every week. And we're also adding some original.
This was great. This one. You were making new stuff, right? You're not just.
So we're adding sort of original content as well. So we're doing. So this is on the tables. This is a guy, Chase Pennell, who's an American pro player, and he's doing a show. So this is the first episode, and his show is sort of focused on like why and how a top player wins a match. So in this case, we've got Tony Spreaderman talking about one of his matches, on Tornado and sort of his thought processes and what he's up to. So for the aspiring players and even for for the pro players, this is a great thing to watch for them to learn from. And so we're sort of trying to do different types of original content. So like some will be tutorials, some will be like this sort of thing, like analysis, some will be just more like entertainment, trick shot sort of stuff, and various other things in between. And some of it will be available for free for non-subscribers to watch, and then some of it's just more for our subscribers as well.
I mean, that chase panel was fantastic. It was like, I've watched it half an hour with Tony Spraderman. I learnt loads just hearing Tony talk about his game, and that's just like the first thing you guys have done. So
that's good to hear.
You're going to be streaming tournaments as well and around the world.
Yeah, that's right. So obviously COVID has impacted this, but the first, America seems to be, quite far along in its vaccination process. So, the first tournament we're going to cover is the Moneyball tournament in Portland, in Oregon, at the end of this month, and it'll be our first live tournament since we started this new company. And we're going to try out a few different things. So we're going to try and stream from different locations, different channels. We're going to have co-commentary throughout. We're going to have overlay graphics. We'll try and make it more like a show rather than just 12 hours with a camera at a table sort of thing. So it's maybe a bit more attractive for a new.
So when we next do the European Tornado Open in the UK with 250 people with 30 tables, we might even have Inside Foos come and do that one.
Hopefully, that'd be great to showcase the UK.
On a little side note, by the way,
Jim's come over before.
He has. I put some money into the pot to get him over. I remember that. Jim Stevens has commentated on Will Hawks. In fact, amateur doubles. We had to beg him to do it, and he hid it in the CD between 5 and 6, so you couldn't see it. But I think I've got the CD somewhere. Actually, I think you're on them as well. To the Fireball one, right? Did you play those? Yeah,
I had a good run on that one.
Oh, that's right. Just on a side, guys, if anyone is interested in getting a tornado in the UK, we're kind of talking to Valley Dynamo about how we can get some more tornadoes here. It's just like a general request. It was in the newsletter. If you're interested in tornadoes, let us know. We're going to try and put something together, maybe if we can make the numbers work for all of us. So just let me know if you're interested. You've got a Kickstarter out there, Steve, as well, haven't you? I think. I'm going to put it up here.
Yeah, we do. So we're trying to raise awareness and trying to raise some funds to to sort of boost what we're doing. So I think a lot of this is going to be spent on equipment, so we can take our broadcasting to the next level. And it's amazing, really. I mean, we've been going for 10 days, I think, or maybe 12 days, and we're almost 2/3 of the way there. But we still need to get the whole way, otherwise we lose out on the whole lot. And we've had some great pledges from the UK already, which has been amazing to see. So thank you everybody for supporting us on this. I think it's really going to make a big difference to what we can achieve, especially in the short to mid-term as well, as we're still getting up and going. So it's we've got an amazing team. We've got almost 40 people involved now in our team from across the US, Europe, and Asia. A mixture of pro players. We've got a production team. We've got a marketing team, and so on. So we're really trying to scale up and make this into something that can really change the game of foosball. So this is something that one of our team members put together, sort of to showcase like the history of Inside Foos up until this point, which has been pretty useful for our Kickstarter, and I think is a nice way for us to sort of look back on some of the great moments that the gym has captured over the years as well.
So there you are, guys. there's the link if you support the Kickstarter. I don't know how long this is. There's another 30 seconds of it there. Go out and support. Now, my little, since we're reminding everyone about money, if you would like to do your BFA membership, I always do this, right? Please do buy your BFA membership, guys. If you haven't done it, spin us a tenner or more. Some people have supported more, just like a Kickstarter. Maybe we need to do a Kickstarter for the BFA. Maybe that's the thing, the trick we're missing. Because it is interesting. I mean, money does actually make a real difference to making these things. I was talking to the Spanish Federation President Thomas earlier this week, and he was just saying the difference, the pandemic and their money's dried up, and when they've got the money, because Spain's quite a big federation, they've got lots of money. What they can do, why why you have like 30 guys in wheelchairs at the the wheel foos is because they're recognised by their National Olympic Committee. There's money available. So it's kind of obvious, but
I think for a federation, it's huge because money is always tight. People are volunteers. I think the BFA, I've been on the BFA committee on and off for the best part of 10 years in some capacity or other. Like, I think that the money that BFA has always goes towards the tournaments that the BFA runs and some of the other paying for the ITSF memberships and so on. So we always kind of net off, or have less money at the end of the year. But if the BFA had some money to use, it could use it to great effect, I think, and just in terms of helping to raise awareness of the game and to promote the game locally, like online or at local scenes as well. So it does make a huge difference for sure.
But I think one of the just sort of our concluding point kind of really is what Inside Foos, what you're doing with Jim Stevens is a tipping point. And I'm just sitting here with my BFA hat on. Some of the stuff we've got lined up for UK table football, it's going to be very, very different if we can do all the things we want to do. The way table football gets taken in a really professional audio-visual way around the world with Inside Foos, for us putting our little hat on as federations and me being involved with other federations for what I do with ITSF, there's a very different spirit around world foosball at the moment to take this game out. And I've had some, I speak to people all the time about table football. I'm talking to a sports consultancy about how they can take table football to the next level. And these guys just find it really interesting that this is something that isn't, as you said, darts. Loads of money's gone into darts, and loads of money in darts. And there's so much potential in our game. Albert, like the Moneyball comment, the kind of there's money in this game somewhere, in and out.
I think there definitely is. I think there's a lot of untapped potential with foosball. I think it's got all the characteristics that you could see it becoming something big. I think it's just about how we present it, and I think it's also just again about the federations sort of having enough resources to make a difference. I think is key, really.
And players actually as well. We've had this conversation before. Coaching. You think about tennis, right? Sure, Roger Federer makes loads of money, but actually most people making money are tennis coaches teaching ladies, teaching kids, teaching people who want to get a bit better. One of the things we're looking at in BFA land, and I've been talking to UK coaching about who build coaching programs for sports, is how can we have a coaching program for us so we can go out and coach, go to a high school, go to Thomas Rich High School, the sixth form, and run a coaching sessions for the guys there, or go to Warwick University and run, or go to companies. How do we teach? Because that little influence of a Jeff Bryce turning up or a Adam Baker turning up to lift people up to the next level and bring more people in. That, and of course, makes money for us, or people doing it as well.
I think firstly, that people need to understand that coaching is available, right? So as a starting player, as a new player, I need to be aware that that's a thing. So if there was somewhere on the BFA site or in the newsletter or online that says, okay, we have some coaches, get in contact with them and you can start. I think that's a great place to start. So if you've identified like a few people that are interested in coaching, then it's just about making the general population aware that is a thing and it can be done.
If you are interested, dear viewers, in becoming a coach, let me know, because I'm going to organize at some point in the next couple of weeks a meeting on how do we do this, right? How do we put a coaching program together? How do we ourselves, Steve, you, me, all of us could become foosball coaches. How do we do that in a way that's fun for all of us? Steve, we've kind of gone. I thought this might happen because there's just so much to talk about, right? We're getting towards 2 hours. So there's still loads of people out there watching. Thank you, guys. Any questions or any thoughts you've got watching you want to share with Steve? I've got a few people I didn't shout out earlier, Steve, just let you know who are watching. Adina Risner watching us. Alex Zalantine gave us a shout out. Dave Corrington. Alex Zalantine, ridiculously talented British-Hungarian foosball player. Dave Corrington, World Hall of Fame tornado. Christian Barley. I think
Christian. Yeah.
Hi, Christian.
Hi, Christian.
Polimeni, Claudio Polimeni is there. Denzel Souza had a question earlier. Who else had some comments for us?
I've seen Claudio in ages. Looking forward to catching up again.
So, in fact, when do we all play again? I stuck it in the newsletter. I think, put it May the 17th, right? Indoor sports are allowed, it says, up to a capacity of 50% of the venue. I'm still a little bit wait and see.
Okay.
That's the bars and cafes are probably going to be doing bar and cafe stuff. But for those who've got foosball clubs in snooker clubs, I know Anglia Grove is opening on May the 17th. So I'm a little bit hopeful we can start to do stuff in 5 weeks away. Touch wood.
That'd be great.
Yeah, really cool.
That'd be awesome.
Really cool. Right, guys, I got one more. Who gave us another? Greg Grant is out there.
Greg.
Greg Grant.
Hey, Greg.
Greg Grant is tell us about Greg. Great player.
Yeah, Greg's a top American player, and he used to live in London for a while. So this was back in probably 2011, 2012, 2013. He saw me playing at actually that Fireball tournament that you were talking about before, and Simon and I did pretty well. And he came up to me afterwards on the subject of coaching, right? So he came up to me and he said, "No, I think you got a good game, but I think it can be better. I can show you how it can be better." And I was like, "This is amazing! This guy wants to coach me." And so we'd have a few sessions in the Black Horse pub in West London, Titch's Tornado there, and we play every week on a Sunday with Titch and Mike Hamston and a few others as well. But yeah, great player and a good guy as well. I think he's moved back to Colorado.
Yes, I went to an Isha Lounge tournament when I first arrived back in the UK, and I saw him in a coaching session. He was just talking about shooting on the 2-bar. He was executing a pull kick, and it was perfect every time. I was like, how do you do that consistency? And I know he's an old TS player from the 70s and 80s. So.
Yeah, and this is, he played in $1 million tour sort of era just after, right? And the standard then was super high. And it was for that time period before he moved back to the States was a lot of help for my game as well. So good to see you, Greg.
Steve, I know you and I could just keep chatting all night about foosball. And I think the guys out there could as well. But I think we're sort of coming to the end. So any thoughts, any things we haven't talked about we kind of want to talk about that's fun?
Are you asking me or are you asking the guests?
Well, since they haven't said anything, except Callum said something, he was sold a lie. I don't know what this was in relation to.
I'm not sure either.
Being the first official subscriber.
Oh, I see. That's probably what that's about.
Yes,
about that. The first.
He was sold a lie. Who else?
We couldn't tell anybody that somebody.
Kat had a question for you. Sorry, Kat. What tournaments are you looking forward to besides Worlds?
Well, obviously the upcoming tournament in rugby in September, of course, is one of the big ones on the calendar. But I don't know. Well, hopefully Leonhardt Worlds is still going to go ahead. So I'd love to, love to be able to get to that one if we can do it.
Another tournament we might have is Dave Clearhill said this right at the start. He ran a masterclass yesterday.
Yeah, Dave was looking to run a tournament in end of July, I think, in Manchester. It sounds like it's going to be a great one. So, yeah, looking forward to that too.
So we've got
actually the other tournament I'm really looking forward to, if it goes ahead, is Varna in August. This is in Bulgaria on the Black Sea coast on the beach, and it's just an amazing. It's outside, and it's an amazing tournament to go to. So if you're thinking about your first tournament abroad, that's definitely one to go to. You definitely have a good time there. I can definitely recommend it.
And I'm looking forward to the first Monster DYP on a Friday night at Anglia Grove as well. I've got to say, the local stuff is fun too. Cat says, yay. Well, Steve, I'm going to say thank you very much for a great evening. We chatted about everything, right?
It's been fun. Yeah, thanks, Will. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, and thank you to everyone out there who's joined the show. And of course, this is on Facebook and YouTube. People watch on catch up, so some people may not be watching it live. Hi, guys, to you too. So yeah, under the bottom, BFA membership. What else did I little plug? If you want to sign up for the newsletter, right? Because this actually, Facebook's such a bad communication channel for staying in touch. We're going to redo the website. I've got some things going there, but I feel the best way of us staying in touch. Actually, this newsletter is really good. We're getting loads of people reading it. So if you don't get the newsletter, want to know what's going on, let me know. Hang on, some last comments have come in. Reese is saying thanks. Greg Grant was out there. Great job, guys. Greg. Cat says, yay. Can I say Mike? Hi, Mike. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Steve. I'm going to close the channel now. Mike Cohen out there, Mike. Hi, Mikey. And thank you very much to Steve. And I will see you on the table.
Thanks, Will. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. I'm going to close it now. Take care. Good evening. Bye.